Hey everyone, my name is Brady Quirk-Garvan. I want to thank you for having me here today. I am excited to be here mainly because I don't have to ask you to vote for me. I'm not a candidate. I'm just here to spread some good news about what I think the folks in this room can do and what we can do as a party as we move forward. For a quick little background, I spent 5 years as the chairman of the Charleston County Democratic Party. During that time, we flipped 6 seats from Republican to Democrat. And part of the reason I tell that is because I like to remind folks that much as we've seen federal policies change for the bad in the last few years, things can change for the good. They can move forward. So I like to do this before we move forward. When I started working in Charleston County with the Democratic Party, I want you all to take a guess how many countywide seats we held in Charleston. How many countywide seats do y'all think we held? 5, I heard? 0. 0 is the right answer, right? So I want you all to know that this year we are going to flip the 7th countywide seat in Charleston. So 18 years ago, I started working in Charleston, and we held no countywide seats. This year, we're going to flip and now hold all 7. That's not because of me. I want to be super clear. It's because of people in rooms like this that went out and said, we're going to do things a little different. We're going to do things a little more radical. We're going to go out and make sure we flip seats. And I think that can happen here in Greenwood as well. So I want to tell you why I woke up early this morning, kissed my daughter goodbye, and left before the sun came up to come here to Greenwood. It is, don't get me wrong, the drive's beautiful. Love a drive on 26, but that's not why. It's because I know something that I think some of y'all might know deep down, but I want you to start vocalizing. The road to change in South Carolina does not run through Charleston. It does not run through the back room of a law firm in Columbia. It runs through Greenwood. It runs through flipping this seat that you just heard from right here. That's why I'm here today. What we know is that there are a couple of seats in South Carolina that are doable and winnable for Democrats. And I'll tell you why. First is the numbers. This seat that we're talking about here that Dr. Brooks is running for is winnable. I will tell you that if every person who voted for Dr. Brooks in 2024 shows up in 2026, now that's easier said than done, but if every person that showed up in 24 shows up in 26, she wins in a landslide. The numbers are there. We don't need to go find new folks, although we will. The folks are here in Greenwood to send Dr. Brooks to Columbia. And why is that important? When she was up here talking, one of the things that I heard that was really important is she was talking about things that matter to us. She was talking about whether we're going to be able to afford the electric bill. She was talking about whether my daughter's able to go to a decent school or not. She was talking about things that matter to us. Let me tell you a little bit about what her opponent was doing last week. They voted on let's back up. If you had to think of the 3 most important issues facing South Carolina, just think of them in your head. 3 things that you said, here's what the legislature should be focusing on to make our lives better. Do you know what they did last week? They voted on a bill to name a highway after Donald Trump. Now, we are in a house of worship, and my mama raised me right, so I'm not going to tell you my real feelings about that, right? But I will tell you that does nothing to lower electric bills. That does nothing to make our kids' schools better. That does nothing to fix the roads. I mean, slapping a name on it of a con artist doesn't help fix the road. These are what folks in Columbia, the Republican Party, are doing. And what I want to tell you is that we can do better as Democrats, not just because we're right on the issues, but mainly because we're focused on the right issues. We're talking about the things that matter to folks every day. And what I want you to do is carry the message that Dr. Brooks said, is the folks in the room get this, right? You all understand that. That's why you're here on a Saturday. But what we need you to do is go convince 10 other people that this matters. And I've been going across the state with a group of volunteers, and we've got a little group that we're calling the comeback, because we believe that there is a time for a resurgence of the Democratic Party in South Carolina, and it starts in rooms like this. I think what we want to lay out the case is that Democrats need to fight everywhere all the time. One of the things that we've seen over the last decade or two is that Democrats have gotten into this mindset of, oh, well, we're not in the majority, and we sort of shrink back a little, right? We say, oh, we're not going to run in that district because it's a little too tough. We're not going to go challenge that person because I hear nice things about them even though they're a Republican and voting against me day after day after day. And what we want to say is that Democrats win when we compete everywhere all the time. Now, I'm super excited about Dr. Brooks and her race, but y'all have another Republican state house seat here in Mr. McCravey. And I will tell you, the reality is that district is a tough district. That district, a Democrat is not going to win. But what I want to tell you very clearly is that that man does not need a free pass in November. Someone should run against him and hold him accountable for the awful votes that he has taken, for the words that he gets up and says on public record day in, day out. And the reason I think it's important for someone to run, even in a district that we might not be able to win, goes back to something that I learned almost 20 years ago. I graduated from school in the spring of 2008 and was lucky enough to get hired by the Barack Obama campaign for president. They sent me to Ohio. I was young, I was 21, and you can imagine a cocky 21-year-old. I was like, I'm going to take on the world. We're going to change everything. It was magical. It was a good time. It felt good to be a Democrat. They sent me to this rural county in southern Ohio. It was a swing state. I said, great. I got on the ground. My boss called me, and she said, I told her, I said, great, I'm going to win this county. And she said, no, you're not. I was sort of taken aback. I said, what do you mean? I'm going to win this county for Barack Obama. And she said, no. We believe right now that Barack Obama's getting about 40% of the vote in this county. What we need you to do is get about 43% of the vote. If you do that, get 43%, if you lose by less, and we can do that in counties across Ohio, we'll carry Ohio. Some of y'all, I think, have been around long enough, you remember that in 2008, we won Ohio. And in my county, we got 45% of the vote. We lost by less, and it helped carry the state. What I want to tell you is we're going to flip and win Dr. Brooks' seat. That's a given. We're going to do that in November. But over in McCravey's seat, I will tell you, I'd like to believe, I am a man of faith, I believe that we can do anything. I'm not sure we can win that in November, but what we can do is hold him accountable, lose by less in that district. And if we lose by less in all of these districts across the state, what happens is something pretty magical. Not only do we have the joy of sending Dr. Brooks there, not only do we have the joy of holding McCravey accountable, but all of a sudden, because someone decided to run against McCravey, a couple hundred extra Democrats turn out there. And if we do that in state house seats across across the state, all of a sudden our candidate for governor could win. All of a sudden, Annie Andrews might beat Lindsey Graham. What we know now as Democrats is that turnout is not driven by the top of the ticket. I love Dr. Andrews. I've known her for years. She's magical. But what we know is that to turn out folks that we need in a midterm, we need people going door to door and saying, you're my neighbor, I need you to vote for me for State House. If we do that, that has meaning, that has impact. That's going to get someone to show up and vote in November in a way that a TV ad won't. We all know this. We see ads all the time on our phones, and that's part of campaigning. It's critical. But what we know is that a neighbor knocking on your door and saying, will you vote for me for a local office, will drive more voters than anything else we can do. So I just want to sort of close by all of us, you don't have to close your eyes, but imagine a year from now, right? You heard from your chair, and can we just give a special shout out to your chair? I was chair for 5 years, and I will tell you, this is a thankless job, so thank you, sir. This is wonderful work you're doing. But I want you all to imagine a year from now, okay? A year from now, it's 2027, we've gone through the midterms, and what I want to tell you is when I talk about the road to change coming through Greenwood, this room is going to look very different in a year or two, and I know this. I've seen it before, and I'm telling you this is what will happen. For the next 6-8 months, we're all going to work hard, and we're going to send Dr. Brooks to Columbia. And when that happens, that's going to send a signal. And all of a sudden, all those 2028 presidential candidates that want to win South Carolina, that want to be our nominee, they're going to say, what happened in Greenwood? And they are going to come marching through here, and they are going to be asking you, how do we do things better? This room is going to be packed with national media from folks that want to be here in Greenwood because they say, y'all did something special. You went out, you worked hard, you flipped a seat in South Carolina, and that is going to send shockwaves. And I just want to tell you that Greenwood is special. I'm going to be back here. I want to come knock doors for Dr. Brooks. I want to send her a little money. I don't have as much as I used to because I just paid the power bill, but we're gonna send her a little something. But what I want to tell you is that you can do something in this room. And if y'all turn out and you work hard, we are going to flip a seat. That's going to send shockwaves through this state. And next year, you're going to have national people come lining up here saying, how did y'all do it in Greenwood? And I want to thank you for being a part of that mission today.